All right, everybody, welcome back to Read the Lines Celebrity Guest Picker Show. This week, we have a legend in the club professional world. Gregor Jameson joins me. He's the director of golf at Lake Nona Golf and Country Club in Orlando. And this week, he hosts the ladies of the LPGA as they restart their season for 2022 with the Hilton Grand Vacations Tournament of Champions. Boy, that's a mouthful for sure. But I know I have the right guy to help us handicap this field. Mr. J, welcome to the show. Real quick for my viewers here, how many years now have you been the director of golf at Lake Nona?
I've been here for 34 years, so I'm into my since 1988. So that's been quite a run.
So you were even there
It's
when they had the first Solheim Cup on property back in, what was it, 1990?
1990. The inaugural Solheim Cup was played here, which was a very exciting event. So and it's amazing how it's grown from there. I mean, it's brilliant, and it was wonderful to see the ladies this year, and of course Europe winning. Not,
Oh,
I think I still owe you $50 from the Ryder Cup bet, however.
well, we could call it a wash because Europe definitely won the Solheim Cup up there at Inverness, which was quite an exceptional match as well. Getting to this week, though, what are things like down in Lake Nona? What kind of weather do you expect heading into the Hilton event this week?
Well, Keith, it's gotten really cold down here, and we're suffering from that cold front that the country's enjoying at the moment. So today, I mean, right now, it's just not even reached 60 degrees, and it's windy outside, bright and sunny, but it's rather chilly for this time, for us in Florida. So we expect some rain towards the end of the week, and quite a chilly weekend. So it's going to be a bit testy because I'm sure we're going to see some wind. I would think we get a little breeze going, so it was windy enough today. So it'll be a test for sure.
All right, now your partner in crime, Brandon Ritchie, director of grounds, does he and his team do a fantastic job? How are
Uh,
they setting up the golf course? Because you hosted the Gainbridge last year in February, so you kind of have a little bit of an idea how to prepare the golf course for these women professionals. Are you going to set it up the same way? Last year, Nelly won at 16 under. Give me an idea of where the golf course conditions are and what the target is.
well, I mean the golf course, for all intents and purposes, very similar to last year. However, because we're earlier into the season, we were expecting it to be chillier. We had a very, very warm December. So Brandon, as part of his strategy, we fertilized early. And then we had weather that was in the mid 80s with sunny every day. And honestly, the rough is horrendous. Now it's being cut. So just to give everyone a bit of a background, we overseed in the wintertime wall to wall inside of the cart paths. So we do fairways, roughs, tees, and approaches, and the greens with overseed. So we have the subsurface, of course, is Bermuda, and we have Bermuda. It's 419 on the fairways and roughs, and then the approaches and tees is Tiff Grand, which is an ultra dwarf Bermuda, so it's tight surfaces around the approaches, and then the greens, the subsurface there is Tiff Eagle. So overseeding, the fairways and the roughs are perennial ryegrass, and the tees, approaches, and greens are overseeded with Poa trivialis. So very tight surfaces. So the rough will be cut at 3 inches today and won't be touched for the rest of the week. So as you know, our fairways are very generous, but if they get in the rough, it's going to be very interesting, especially around the greens, because some of the runoffs into the green surrounds, I mean, the ball, you're having trouble finding it in spots. So very thick conditions, and you're going to see some interesting lies around the approaches as the ball releases and goes up against some of these rough areas. So, it's going to be quite testy.
So I see the road you're leading me down. High rough, so we're going to need somewhat of a straight hitter. Lake
Yep.
Nona can play kind of long. Um,
Yep.
we certainly we think the weather's going to be cool and could be damp, so the golf course is going to play even longer. I look at last year's leaderboard, and you had Nelly and Lexi at the Gainbridge.
Right.
So there's two long hitters there, but then you had Lydia Ko, who was also tied for second with Lexi. Um, give us a little bit of a breakdown when, being there so long and seeing the different types of professionals that you have on property. What type of skill set does it take to really play well at Lake Nona?
Well, I think, whereas we're going to see a little bit of moisture at the end of the week, it is possible that the golf course will play fairly firm, because of the wind and the sun. So we might get a little softness on the Saturday, but I expect to see the green speeds getting up a little bit because of the cold weather, not because of what we're doing. The LPGA certainly stipulate that they would like to see the greens, between 11.5 and 12 in the stimp meter, but if that because the drainage is so good, if the subsurface around the greens and approaches gets fairly dry with the cooler weather, the greens are going to be tricky for chipping as well as holding in places, I think. So, really going to be a real test, especially if it gets windy. So the fairways here, as you know, are very generous, but it's just if you get off the beaten track a little bit, it's going to be pretty tough.
Well, the field itself
is a good hard test for this week.
Yeah, the field itself is tough. I mean, in order to get into this
Absolutely.
event, you have to have won in the last 2 years. So
Yeah.
it's hard to say that there's too many long shots in this field. But
No.
early leans, I know you have a couple ladies that are members there that also play in this event. Early leans, who do you like in this field to come out on top?
Well, I mean, our membership is being represented by Nasa Hitoka, and then the Chitanagar sisters, Moria and Aria, and Lydia Ko. Then past member Anna Norquist. So all of them, all of these ladies have played a good number of rounds at Lake Nona over the years. So they have that advantage of really knowing the golf course. But it's representing the field basically with four members out of the 29 is a pretty nice number to start with. And also, when you consider Aria Jatanagarn's power, she can certainly stay there with the longest hitters in the game. But it's not, as you know, all about power. And Lydia, incredibly steady golfer, fantastic short game, great putter. I mean, just has it all there. So I think she's going to be tough. And NASA has had a terrific couple of seasons, and I would be watching her as well. So I think all of them are in the mix, as you said. There's no one that's a clear favorite.
It almost, when you talk about that, it almost reminds me of this past weekend at the Sony, where you had the power of Matsuyama versus the tactical prowess of Russell Henley. And,
Right.
When you see like somebody like Nelly won last year at a different event, but at the same golf course at the Gamebridge versus Lydia Ko, I mean, they play two different styles of golf.
Right.
The par threes at Lake Nona, I've played there many times, as you know, are key holes. Do you feel that the par threes will be more key this week or the par fives? Because you've got four of each.
Yeah, I mean the threes. I mean our threes. We don't have such a huge variance of distance on our par threes, as you know. So it really for them is going to probably be middle to slightly longer irons. But probably 7 iron. Down to about a 5 iron, I would think. Other than the shorter hitters, they'll have maybe a utility here and there. Maybe in a hole number 4, for example, which we can lengthen. But I think they're playing it from a fairly moderate distance. It's about the same as Gamebridge last year in terms of overall yardage. It's about 65, 6,600, I think. So it's a good test of golf. I mean, there's no question about it.
How did the par fives hold up last year during the Gamebridge?
Well, the par fives did really well. I mean, there's really when you look at Lake Nona's par fives, number 2 is guarded by water on the right. Number 15 is really our signature hole, and it is a really tricky par 5 because the green of the third shot, or indeed the second shot in some cases, is really a difficult shot to get close to the pin. So the fives held up well. I think number 9 for many of them is great birdie opportunity, a drive and probably a hybrid or a long iron in. Number 11 is probably a bit out of range as well. So they're all playing like really almost free shotters except for 9, I would say. So it's going to be, I think the fives will be key element, of course. If they can play the fives really well, they're going to take that number down a little bit.
Now, this is a fantastic Tom Fazio layout. right? And there's a lot of balance to the golf course. There's a
Yes.
number of par four dog legs that bear left to right, and then also right to left. Do you feel like
Right.
there's a specific shot shape or type of player that it favors more or less of, or you just really have to be, on your game to keep that ball in the fairway?
Well, I think you need to be on the game to keep it in the fairway because you definitely don't want to be in the rough. So I think there'll be a little more care about their club selection in some places, especially longer hitters. Number five and number 14. 14 they'll play up fairly. It's a drivable hole for some of the ladies. So they'll play that up, I'm sure, over the weekend. They haven't really shared everything with us, the LPGA, what they want to do yet, but that should make that very exciting. I mean, the key part of the golf course really is the back nine. I mean, historically, when we've had other professional tournaments as well as USGA final qualifiers for opens and the like, we see very good scores going into the last 5, 6 holes, and then them coming out the other side of that five, losing a number of strokes. So it's going to be who can play the last 5, 6 holes really in a strong way. That probably be dominant. I would imagine through this week.
Well, I know through my own experience, 16, 17, 18 are as good a finish in golf anywhere.
Yes, you cap in 15 as that par five and 14, which is a tempting hole to try and get on top of, but just with a little bit of lack of care, a sloppy shot, you can easily make a mistake going down these holes. So I think honestly, even 13, the par three, which is a really narrow, undulating green with can have very difficult pin placements on it. Not a long shot, 150 yards, but again, very demanding. So I think that last 13 through 18 stretch is where they really need to be on top of everything.
All right, now's the time. I'm going to pin you down here. I mean, a lot of talk about in Orlando, the Corda sisters. They've had a lot of success there.
Yeah.
But is that where you lean, or who do you think's going to win from the upper echelon of the ladies that are showing up this week?
Well, I mean, I don't think you can rule out Nelly Corda for sure because of her length and the way she's playing the game in general. She's just always in the mix. But you see that with Lydia as well. Her type of resolve and her ability to just be right there when she needs to is amazing. So, I'm not really, I can't, because it's such a strong field, it's very, very difficult to say. But I think it could be down between Lydia and perhaps NASA
Okay.
and Nelly. I mean, these are the kind of who I'm leaning at. But then you take somebody like Hannah Norquist, who's just incredibly consistent in terms of her driving accuracy, and she's great at putting, for long distance around greens, because some of her greens, as you know, are quite large with big runoffs,
Sure.
and she does that exceptionally well. She's proved when she played Carnoustie. So I think there's so many players here that are just fantastic golfers, and I don't know if they're all in form yet because it's early in the season, so you don't know who's ready and who's not. But this group are pretty ready all the time, I would say.
Well, I tell you, I like that Nordquist lean towards, more of the bottom tier of the players that are there. Now, again, there's no long shots in this field. They had to win in the last 2 years to get there.
Yeah,
But, one or two
yeah,
of the names like a Sophia Popov, who played well there last
yeah,
year in February, or Patty
yeah,
Tavatanikit with her length at your place, if it gets a little bit wet or the rough, those are some names. And then Georgia Hall, who was top 20 last year at the Gamebridge, and
yeah.
they all have that style of game that I know fits Lake Nona. So it'll be really interesting to see how the whole thing plays out. And, I can't thank you enough, Mr. J, for taking the time to help us handicap the field here for the start of the LPGA season here in 2022. I know I'm excited about what they're up to, and you guys support, like we said from the beginning, since 1990, Lake Nona has truly supported the ladies' game. And what are you most excited about for in 2022 when it comes to the LPGA?
Well, I mean, I think the LPGA have done such a wonderful job, really, with their marketing and their image and their athletes, and they're really fun to watch. I mean, watching them at Gamebridge last year, because you get a bit out of touch in a way from golf in general when you're sort of staying at a club all the time. Even although, as you know, we have a large number of touring pros. We have 32 touring pros that carry cards, official, European tour pros. American, US. It's all the major tours. You have to be a major tour one to be in that category. A major member of a tour to be in that category. So we see some of the best players in the world. I mean, some of our ladies are not playing, like Leona Mcguire is not playing. I mean, she had such a great season last year, including her fantastic showing at the Solheim Cup, and she's not in the field. So we get to see them practicing and working on their game, and you get a little out of touch, as I say, because you're here, you're in this little bubble, and seeing them last year it was so impressive to watch. It really is. They're so good.
Well, I tell you, Leona Mcguire, I lean her way all the time. I love throwing a
Yeah.
little money her way, but she hasn't won in the last 2 years. Well, she hasn't won, so
She hasn't won yet,
she
no.
can't get in the
But
field.
I mean, really, if you take her as somebody to be watching this year, number one amateur in the world before she turned professional, and she just looks like she's getting better and better and more confident all the time. So I'd be watching her for the season. I mean, I think you'll see her winning this year for sure. I would be really surprised if she didn't win early into the season this year.
Or maybe something like the AIG Women's Open. Be a good fit for her game.
Be a great fit, especially going back. It's Inverness, isn't it?
No, Muirfield. They're playing this year.
Muirfield. Oh, Muirfield. Yeah, but I think in a couple of years' time it's going back, is it not? So where the Solheim was.
Yes. Yeah. She'd be a good fit there too.
So I'll be watching her. But I've been watching her for the season. I think she's going to be really sound. Really, Nasa Hitoka as well has played so well. I mean, I was really, thought she might have won the Open, even though, Lexi had such a bad finish, unluckily.
Yeah.
But I think, overall, I think the women's game is incredibly healthy, and now it's really more global. I mean, they're playing all over the world. So it's great to see.
Well, you taught me this many years ago. When it comes to luck, we make our own with hard work.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
at the end of the day, I appreciate you coming and taking the time. I know it's a busy week. You're hosting the ladies, but for Read the Line, we got to do it because we got to shine a little luck, my members' way and try to get these weekend wagers down for the ladies this week there at the Hilton Grand Vacations Tournament of Champions. Boy, that's a mouthful. Good luck with that one this week, too.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for being with us, Mr. J.
Keith, always good to see you. We'll look forward to seeing you next week.
Yes, PGA Merchandise Show. I'll be down there, and we'll be covering all sorts of golf. And I look forward to that, and I look forward to seeing you. Thanks so much, folks. For everyone that subscribes, reads, and wins with Read the Line, I can't thank you enough for supporting us. That's another week of the Celebrity Guest Picker. Get those bets in on the ladies. It's time to start rolling with both them and the men.